What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 535th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Greg.
Hello. I have purchased new clothing out of necessity, and I am here to state vanity sizing is the worst thing that's ever happened to buying clothing.
I was going to ask if you went back to Fjallraven and got that nice thing.
No, it was the jacket /
Cardigan.
hoodie without a hood, which is my favorite type of hoodie, sweatshirty type thing. No, I didn't.
Is it not a hoodie without a hood, just a cardigan?
Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean, cardigans usually have buttons and they have a very specific collar. So you have zip-up jackets, you have zip-up cardigans, you have zip-up sweatshirts. They also call them hoodless hoodies, which is a new fashion terminology. We're getting away from the point that vanity sizing is terrible. I'm mad at it because I no longer can order online and know if I'm getting my size. My size is currently in question depending on who I'm asking according to their size charts. But I will say, and you all saw this yesterday, that the Pokemon Center's size chart for jackets is fairly accurate because the jacket did fit me and I look good in it.
I believe that vanity sizing for men just like started in probably like 1998.
Yeah.
So we were like well on the belief that the actual waist size on a pair of pants was the actual waist size on a pair of pants, and then they pulled the rug out from under us.
Yeah. I ordered a pair of 32s from Amazon, and I'm like, what? How? These are like, I have a mile in these pants right now. This is not cool.
Will is here.
I love going to the dentist. I just wanted, because Greg talked about the dentist, I wanted to give my dental report. I still have never had a cavity in my life. I have every single one of my teeth, not a single tooth pulled out of my mouth.
You never had your wisdom teeth out?
Nope. Got all of them, even the little extra one that always everybody likes to point out that I have a little extra tooth in there. And my dentist, when I saw him last week, said, "This is the best set of teeth I've seen all day."
He says that to everybody.
You should put that in your LinkedIn profile.
That's
Best
so
set
are
of
we?
teeth.
I think we're now going to the same dentist. Because I finally got coverage.
Do you go to the? It's on Lindale.
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe we do go to the same
Yeah, I
dentist.
think we do.
What is happening right now?
Yeah,
My dentist
they're
is all
real
ladies.
good. Wait, the rodeo roller derby dentist?
Yep.
Yeah. They also sponsor square dancing.
Yeah.
Speaking of sponsoring, we have an episode. Look, we recorded last week before there was Pokemon news. That Pokemon news happened. And then there was more Pokemon news. So we have a bunch of Pokemon news in regards to Scarlet and Violet. So we're going to talk about that. And then there was a little bit of Pokemon Go news. And then there was one other article that I can't think of. I was doing really good at keeping show notes up to date. And I missed the show notes this week because I was in San Diego for TwitchCon. And then I had to go to New York. And then I got back. And it's been a long week. I'm very happy to not be traveling.
Are you done for the year? I think Will and I have one thing left.
I have one more day trip, but it's not business related. Just a quick day trip and
Going up to Duluth like Will Anderson.
I do kind of want to go to Duluth, but it's too cold now.
No, it's not.
What is too cold?
Too cold is like
the concept.
Too cold is if I have to feel like I need to put my hands in my pockets because of the wind. Is that I feel like that's a good gauge. Like if I can just walk outside and hold my phone and be comfortable, cool.
For hundreds of years, humanity has shared. Well, we're split, but the concept of a gauge that is numbers, that says above this number is too warm, below this number is too cold, that I can say, for me, anything below 25 degrees is probably too cold, not where my hands are at that moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes like like a 50 is warmer than like 58 that's like really windy.
Yeah, you know what that's called?
Yeah,
Wind chill.
Wind chill.
That's why we talk about wind chill here a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's the whole Midwest thing of like, wow, it'd be really nice if it wasn't
for the wind chill.
All right,
Look, I'm always cold, so we are not. I am not allowed to say that it. Like, I nearly died on the pumpkin walk. So I have to say it was so cold. Thank heavens for hand warmers.
Yeah, I would like to take my one wheel out, but I feel like it would be too cold.
Don't take your one wheel to the pumpkin walk because you'll plow over a bunch of grandmas.
That makes it seem like I want to go to the pumpkin walk. Okay, we got Scarlet and Violet news. We're going to start with that. We're going to start with the good stuff. And then, I don't know, complain about Niantic for like 20 minutes. So, I guess we'll go in order here. Wait, where's my... Okay, here we go. This is off the this is the press release that the old Pokemon company sent my way. It says October 6th. Wow, that was 10 days ago. New game features, and more Pokemon native to the Paldea region were announced today in the new trailer on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the newest additions to the main series of the Pokemon video games, will launch November 18th exclusively on the Nintendo Switch. Meet hold on, I can say this. Farigiraf. I think I got there.
Sure.
Farigiraf.
I'll wait for the official pronunciation on the anime before I commit, because I'm not going to be caught up in your fervor of saying names.
I think I'm saying it wrong. I just the putting these letters together and coming out of my mouth was the difficult part.
I would pronounce that Farigiraf. Like giraffe for rig, Farigiraf.
Yeah.
Get a little more J in there.
With the J sound, yes.
Yeah. As a result of its evolution, the head of its main body and the head of its tail have become one. Both of Farigiraf's brains are connected through thick nerves, increasing its psychic energy, and it can emit psychic waves from the antenna on its head. Farigiraf is always mindful of its surroundings. I bet it's a Pokemon Go player. And it can detect danger in an instant. There are times where its body cannot react faster than its two brains can think. It has the ability Chud Chew, which I think is a giraffe.
Cud, not Chud.
Not
Cud.
Chud, it's Cud.
Oh, Cud. What is a Cud? What is a Cud?
Cud is what? Oh,
is that like
God.
It's
so,
when... Yeah,
the hay?
Go
okay,
for it, Greg.
Yeah, so you know how a cow has multiple stomachs?
Sure.
So
that's a misconception. It has one stomach that's divided into multiple sections.
Segmented into multiple sections. Like, people know it as a multi-stomach. Anyways, it eats the grass and whatever, and it goes into the first stomach. And then, while that gets worked on by enzymes, it will puke that back up to chew on the cud it made for its next stomach. And then it keeps doing that process until it's extracted all of the nutrients out.
That's why cows are known as ruminants.
Yes.
Ruminants.
That's why you'll sit them seeing out in the
Cody
field.
has infected both of you. This is too much science for the show.
I live in a farm state. You are the person that's like, cows are at the zoo because they're so weird, and I had to go to a stupid farm my entire childhood because it's the one thing you do. You go see the locks, which they've shut down, and you go see somebody working on a farm, and they tell you about cows every day of your life as a child.
There's a lot of cows in Wisconsin.
Oh, there's a lot of cows everywhere.
Cud Chew is a new ability appearing for the first time. When a Pokemon with Cud Chew eats a berry, it will eat it one more time at the end of its next turn. Armor Tail is another new ability appearing for the first time. It makes the opposing Pokemon unable to use priority moves. That's pretty much literally the same. It's not a new ability. It's just Queensley Majesty.
It's Queensley Majesty, but in armor form.
Quick hot take. I don't like how they do similar abilities and they just rename them. like Zekrom and Reshiram's ability is just Mold Breaker.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make sense for Farigiraf to have Queen's Majesty.
Yeah, well,
Okay. So just rename Queen's Majesty, but then that kind of takes away from the specialness.
Yeah, I understand. It's just like, how many abilities do we have? I don't even know.
2,000.
Like if we have 300 abilities, I think we have more than 300. If we have 300 abilities, I feel like 100 of them are overlapping in some way, and they're just differently named. Then they showed off picnics. Players can have a picnic almost anywhere while exploring the region's vast wilderness, along with being able to change the design of the tablecloth, cups, water bottles, and other picnic items to create an arrangement for their liking. When Pokemon eat sandwiches, not only will their HP be restored, but the meal may impart some effects that will come handy on adventures. All kinds of sandwiches can be made at a picnic. Before beginning, players can choose what fillings and condiments they would use, as well as a sandwich pick that will hold it all together. Once ready, players will need to arrange the ingredients on the bread, stacking them carefully. If not balanced properly, it might accidentally cause the ingredients to topple over or fall off the bread entirely. Players can also enjoy picnics with friends while playing together through the Union Circle. They just need to simply approach the player's picnic while playing together for their friends to join. So obviously this is the Poffins Curry Pokeblock gimmick of the game.
Well, they have it's like the camping as well, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of goes in with the camping whole thing.
They don't talk about it in the press release, but I'm pretty sure it's in the video that you get eggs. You can get eggs.
Yeah. Well, let's get through the press release and then we'll go back for the details here. Take care of Pokemon by washing them. In these titles, when a Pokemon walks alongside a player or battles, it can get grimy and dirty. By washing Pokemon at a picnic, not only do they get clean, but their HP will be restored and their bond with their trainer will become stronger. And then finally, introducing the TM Machine, a handy device that can make TMs. A technical machine, or a TM for short, is a tool that allows Pokemon to learn new moves. In these titles, there is a piece of equipment installed at every Pokemon Center called the TM Machine, which allows trainers to make their own TMs. TMs can be made using League Points, LP for short, and materials dropped by wild Pokemon after a battle. LPs can be obtained as the player advances the story or by trading materials from a Pokemon. The section of TMs available to make grow as a player continues their adventure. A single TM can only be used once, but with enough LP and right materials from a Pokemon, players can make as many as they'd like. Okay, so that was the first trailer. It was 14 minutes long, which very long for really only showing one new Pokemon, saying that TMs are not unlimited, showing picnics, and then what was the last thing? Oh, they
washing
brought
your
back
Pokemon.
the thing. They brought back the thing from X and Y where you wash your Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so let's talk about the washing of the Pokemon because I think that's like the least interesting thing here.
Yeah,
it was in X and Y. It was in Sun and Moon. It was in Ultra Sun and Moon. It was not in Sword and Shield. I guess you could say it was in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, because you could brush them.
Yeah,
you didn't wash them,
you
but
didn't
it was
wash
still
them.
like the motion of like brushing. It's what, just like the way to increase friendship, just like throwing a giant ball of Leon, and then like your Stonejourner chases it, and then that heart goes up.
Yeah, this is it. It's not particularly interesting. I mean, it's fine, right? Like, we know it has to be in there every game now because that's like the focus for some evolution.
Except for Sword and Shield, it was just gone.
Well, I mean, there has to be a friendship mechanic a playing mechanic, and this is their playing mechanic, which is washing them.
I think I would care about it more if it did something. Like, they're like, oh, it heals your Pokemon. But then also, like, you have to do it in a picnic. And the picnic also, they're saying, heals your Pokemon.
Well, isn't it making the sandwich heals your Pokemon, not the picnic itself?
Yeah, that's true. The sandwich.
Why are
you setting up a picnic if you're not making a sandwich?
Well,
Because you
want
time
to do all the sandwich making stuff.
I'm not hungry yet. We just had lunch, but I want to rest and view.
If you're gonna unpack the table, put the tablecloth down, decorate it, you might as well make a sandwich at that point.
But what if you're not hungry? That's just a waste of food and resources.
So, what if your Pokemon are hungry, though? It's not about you, Greg. It's about your Firagarif.
My Pokemon are hungry when I say they're hungry and not a second more. Have you ever tried to feed dogs? If you don't control that inflow, they're just going to eat everything and then they're going to puke it up. So no, I'm going to make sure that I know the feeding schedule of my Pokemon so they don't have to be like in the middle of battle being like, oh, I'm sorry, I overfed them. I'll just clean up this puke real quick.
Or it's the opposite where you're making curry and Sword and Shield and you're like, yo, keep on eating this curry.
Keep eating it.
We need to increase this happiness. Eat.
They do have games that you can play at the picnic because they have a football/soccer ball with an Eevee.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that in the trailer. Yeah, it's like the washing thing is like, here is a mechanic. It just doesn't seem useful in any
I haven't found the picnic or anything. I didn't find camping fun in last one. I rarely did it except if I had to create friendship, and then I was like,
okay, yeah, so
it's just the fulfillment of the prophecy of keeping that dog clean. Finally,
correct.
You can keep that dog clean. Your Fido can be washed.
So picnics, same as like curry, same as Poffins. Was there any of these mechanics in past? Well, Black and White didn't have any of this, right? Black and White had just like the movies.
Well, the play and the movies.
Yeah.
The musicals.
The musicals.
Did you guys like any of these past mechanics? I know some people did like curry, some people liked Poffins, some people were like, Pokeblocks were better.
No.
I didn't hate Poffins. I liked Pokeblocks, but only if I was with people and we could do it correctly. Musicals never lived up to their promise, and the movies never lived up to their promise. I didn't like making curry either.
Wait, didn't Black and White have the egg spinner?
Yeah,
what?
that didn't
Everybody put it in an egg, and then you spun it around, and
either.
then you got a random egg.
I don't
That's
think
like
that would
the
be the
equivalent of
same
Pokeblocks. Yeah, because it's like when you're doing multiplayer, and like everybody like puts in an egg, and then you don't know what you're gonna get.
This
Yay!
This is what I'll say. I know. What's always funny is sometimes when I think about like features I'm like excited about, I'm gonna complain about the TM machine. By the way, just a heads up.
I don't like it, so
I'm gonna complain about the TM machine. But sometimes when we get reviews, we always get like somebody will give us a 1-star review or 2-star review, and they'll be like, the show was so negative. And then I like think back and I'm like, okay, well, what were we negative about the last episode? And I was like, oh, well, Niantic did something dumb. I feel like that was valid to be negative.
That is a valid negativity.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna this episode say that I like picnics. And then I guess maybe that's not valid at all. Like, oh, Steve likes the picnics, but he hates the TM. Like,
yeah,
I did enjoy curries, and the reason I liked it is because it was a dex. And there was like an end goal to it, right? And I, as funny as it was, like 151 curries. I like when video games give me a reward for doing something. So
golden ladles to make more curry.
Yeah, so the golden ladle thing. I liked playing curries with other people, but that was almost impossible, right? Like you could stand somewhere in the wild area and then have somebody else like go in and out of like the gate to then hopefully be in your game session. So you were kind of stuck doing it by yourself to complete your curry decks.
Unless you had a LAN party.
Yeah, a LAN party. There were different levels. Like you could try to Charizard class everything or Copperajah class everything. That didn't actually matter. If you wanted to complete your curry dex, you just needed 151. And I did think it was kind of clever that there was like 2 or 3 curries that you needed to like trade for, because one game had like Bob's Beans and the other games had like Fred's hot dogs, and you had to like trade those in order to complete it. Although the actual mechanic wasn't super great, and there was a frustrating part where some berries were better than other berries, but like there was no real way to indicate that, and like Sarumi didn't report or say that, and the player's guide was like,
way to go, Joe.
and it wasn't literally until like 6 months ago, like a data miner was like, here's how actual curry hunting works, and I was like, geez, this is so complicated, and literally nowhere does it say that. So I do think that curry hunting was the best of all of these games, but my issues I just said, it seems like Picnics fix that. It seems like it'll be really easy to do that with other people. I would really hope that, you know, there is a Picnic Dex where you get something when you complete it. I hope that there's like something to complete, because at a certain point you're probably just doing picnics to increase your friendship. But then they did the other thing, which is they said, they casually dropped this. They were like, oh, if you do a picnic, you might get an egg. Mm-hmm. And there were some people I saw that were like, oh, does that mean there's no breeding? I don't think that's true. I just think that they were like, hey, if people are doing this over and over, we need to reward them for their time in some way. Because another thing that I did really, really like about curry hunting is you could attract Pokemon through curry. And it's funny because I made a TikTok about that, and people were like, I had no clue this feature existed. And because the game doesn't tell you, you can do that. And also it doesn't work in the wild area. So if you're only camping in the wild area, it's never going to work. So the game doesn't tell you that. The game doesn't tell you that the better way to attract curry Pokemon is to have max friendship in there. There were so many rumors or speculation of how that worked, of like, oh, you need a Pokemon that has like a sociable ribbon on it, or you need to only have 5 Pokemon in your party, not 6, or you need to, like, none of that was true. But I think that's what it is, right? I think that instead of a Pokemon being attracted to your party because you made curry, I think they're saying you make a good sandwich, you'll randomly find the egg. And my suspicion is that egg will probably be a different Terra type. And that's how they like encourage you to do this mechanic to
How
search.
do you know what egg you're getting?
I would guess it would be the same like curry hunting. So if you curry hunted in Glimwood Tangle, you'd get like Ponyta, Impidimp, whatever, Indeedee. So if you curry hunt by, I don't, like not a spoink. What is that pig called?
Lechonk!
Lechonk.
How dare you!
If you curry hunt near a Lechonk, I would assume that you would probably be more likely to get a Lechonk egg, and that Lechonk would be like grass instead of fire or whatever.
Yeah, the picnic
We're
fairies
just guessing,
are sneaky,
right?
but
that's a huge guess for
strong.
sure. But like,
We're just guessing.
I don't think the eggs mean that there's no breeding in this game.
Yeah,
There
no, it's
better
just
be
a way
breeding
to
in this
get
game.
eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people freaking out, like, this is the breeding mechanic, and I'm like, we don't know that. But also, I hope it's not as obtuse as curry hunting was. Like, I hope if this is the breeding mechanic, like, and there isn't a daycare somewhere, which would be wild to me. But if it isn't, then it had better be spelled out plainly what you need to do.
I would find it so hard to believe that they would go from a game that had 2 daycares that you could mass produce eggs to a game with no daycares and no way to mass produce eggs.
Look, we never know what they're gonna do. Snubble wasn't in the English region, so let's just admit everything is off the
Solrock and
rails.
Lunatone were not in Sun and Moon. Yeah, but that's like a different problem with Pokemon, where they have all of these NPCs, and none of them tell you anything valuable. Like, do you remember in Sun and Moon when you went to it was like the second island, and there was a laboratory where Sycamore's wife lives. I can't remember her name.
Sycamore's wife?
Not
What?
Sycamore. Sorry. Kukui's wife. Kukui's wife. Sorry. A lot of hot men in my head.
Yeah, there are.
So you go up that laboratory, and there's like a Team Skull grunt, and he says, I heard that shiny Pokemon are rare, and he's like, I think he says like there's like a 1 in 4,806. Like he says he tells you what the shiny
He gives
odds
you a number.
are.
Yeah.
And he's just a random dude in a hallway. And what I still, it's dumbfounds me in Pokemon games that you have so many NPCs that just say literally nothing. Like, why in Sword and Shield is there not an NPC that's like, hey, I heard if your Pokemon party is incredibly happy and you curry hunt in this forest, you could attract a Pokemon. Like, literally no one's... Maybe somebody does. But I have talked to every person. I have 2,000 plus hours in Sword and Shield. I have definitely talked to every person. And no one has said anything of value in that game.
There have been some valuable conversations in that game. There is a person that tells you what the weather is.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't get it. I just don't get why... why there's so many complicated mechanics in Pokemon, but you have to either rely on some dude on Twitter to data mine it. You have to rely that Joe from Sarumi cares enough to update his website with that information. Or you have to hope that like a streamer or a YouTuber tells you that information. Like why? It's like the whole like Elden Ring thing. Like I'm playing Elden Ring and I'm like, I get that you do it on your own, no hand holding, that kind of stuff. But how am I supposed to know that I need to do this without going to a website and looking it up? Is that what they want me to do?
The thrill of discovery.
Yep.
How am I supposed to know that I need like a 1 HP mask and I'm supposed to walk under a giant brick thing and then there should be a sandstorm and then it evolves? Who's supposed to figure this out?
How do we know how things work in real life? Huh?
Watching YouTube, apparently.
If
Now it's
somebody
TikTok.
didn't tell you and they did the trial and error to figure it out, that's how the real world works. Now, I mean, I do agree that Pokemon has this philosophy of some things just should always be hidden, and it's fun to figure them out.
I don't think anyone had fun involving Geomask. Not a single person out there was like, this was fun.
I don't think I actually ever evolved a Yadmask, to be honest.
I don't think I did either. That. I think I did a raid for
I think I did a raid for it. It was like, I don't care. I'm just going to get the final form.
I evolved a Runerigus.
Why?
Did you have fun doing it?
Did you enjoy it? I can tell by your voice.
I mean...
and your posture that you had the best time.
I got it done, and it was over.
And I moved on with my life. I don't. It's like, didn't they also sort of basically not say how to evolve Inkay when Inkay first came out? You're like, what do I do?
I think
and
they said on Twitter how to. I think they were like,
I
oh,
saw
fun
on Twitter
thing,
how
hold it
to.
upside down.
And wasn't the other? What's the other one? Is it Pancham that has to have a dark type?
Yes, has to have a dark type in your party whispering it.
They love keeping these things a secret because it's supposedly finding the mystery of how Pokemon works. But really, when you're not a kid and you don't care and you're like, I want to complete my desk and you're old, it's just annoying. Just tell me.
Well, okay, there was like an article that came out like last week. Or maybe it was like a huge tweet thread. I don't actually remember it, but it comes up every like once a year where somebody who was it Masuda from Game Freak, they were like the Arceus flute was way too complicated for players, so that's why we didn't include it. And then they prior to that they did like the Reggie thing where like they expected their players to like learn Braille and understand like you need to like dig underwater in front of this cave to get to like the Reggies. It's okay to have harder or more complicated mechanics in your game. But why nowhere in your game does it try to like lead you that way or to give you hints or like you're like, well, the Reggie stuff was too hard. Our players were too dumb to figure it out. And it's like, what? Like, you created the mechanic. If you think it's too hard, then have an NPC standing somewhere being like, here's the hint.
No, you're supposed to call the Nintendo helpline and pay $5 for a tip.
They are lonely and they need people to call.
And then it's like, and then people complain that they dumb down mechanics, but then they make something like Rune Ringus, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening over at Game Freak? They're like, this is too hard. This is too easy. This is.
In this game, a Pokemon that only evolves by using a specific soap while washing them.
Oh, you might be on it.
I'm calling it now. You must use a very specific soap, a terrestrialized soap, and you have to learn how to make the soap.
In the Crown Tundra, there's a raid den that doesn't do anything, and there's like 5 rocks around the raid den. And you need to have Regice, Regirock, Registeel, Regidrago, Regieleki all in your party. And then you go to that raid den, and then it lights up and Regigigas appears. Number one, I'm sure half the people listening to that was like, oh, you can catch Regigigas in the Crown Tundra? Yes. It's like the raid den above the graveyard with 5 little rocks around it.
There's a raid den above the graveyard?
Yeah, like there's a hill above the graveyard, and when you walk up that, there's a raid den that never lights up, and there's 5 rocks around it.
I have no idea.
And again, there's like, what, 7 NPCs in the Crown Tundra, and like 6 of them live in that little town?
Yeah, and they're talking about sweaters.
Yeah, exactly. They're talking about sweaters. No one is like, hey.
Okay, I have a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
If somebody stopped by your house right now, what real world wisdom would you impart if you'd be like, look at my hoodie and my cute pants. Hey, let's take a ride on my one wheel.
This is the real world wisdom I would impart.
You are just as useless as every NPC. You have no profession. You would be that person. You'd be like, why is this house open? You're like, hey, do you wanna see a podcast? Look at my TikTok.
This is the advice I would give. This is my NPC dialogue. See that train track over there? Don't stop your car on it.
Yeah, but people would be like, yeah, of course you don't, because there's a train coming. Thanks. This is worthless dialogue.
All those NPCs are talking about sweaters. Why one of them says like, hey, isn't that raid den with the 5 rocks around it weird? I wonder if that has to do with the temples. There, I wrote the dialogue for you. There it is. But just copy and paste this text. You can now have voice acting in your game. You free use of what I just said. Apply it to an NPC.
That was bad. Do it again. Retake. Will, what's your NPC advice? You talk about knitting. Right?
Oh, yeah, but what's like relevant to my area of the region? My house is between 2 lakes. I don't know. Everybody's house is between 2 lakes here.
Everything's between 2 lakes. That narrows it down to nowhere. It even includes Wisconsin at that point.
I would just be like, the technology is amazing. Look things up on the internet. You can find all kinds of information on the internet these days.
When I was a kid, we just made stuff up because we didn't have the internet.
Do we like Firagarif?
No.
What?
I don't mind Firagarif.
Did we like Girafarig?
No.
Okay, all right.
It didn't start at a place that I enjoyed it. Like,
wait, did you make me say Firagarif? How dare you?
I don't know. I'm saying it.
Farigiraf.
Oh, did I say Girafarig? Sorry, Farigiraf. Yeah.
So I was never huge on Girafarig. It was fine. It was mostly forgettable to me. The only thing I know is like the Chinese got a blue tongue. Like in reality, this time when I first saw it,
blue nose.
I literally thought, who stuck a space helmet on that poor giraffe? Why are you doing this? Because I'm like, we're going into space, and then I'm like, oh, why does it? I don't like. Why does it have teeth?
Why does Brock have a rocket ship? That's
Why
that
does
you
Brock
said.
have a rocket ship? What is going
Why are we
on
going
in the
into
Pokemon
space?
world? I will say this. I don't like its official artwork, but people's drawings of it on Twitter, I do like.
It's
But
probably
I'm
gonna be
not
one
a
of those
huge fan.
things where when you see it in game, it seems more personable and
But I watched it in the trailer, and I'm like, no, this is weird. I don't like it.
It looks like a giraffe.
the complaint I saw about it wasn't its design. It was people that were bummed out, respectfully so, I think, for its typing. It keeps the psychic normal typing. I think the consensus was people wanted it to be like psychic dark, which isn't that like Malamar, I think, is psychic dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what bums me out?
you know what really grinds my gear? What bums you out?
We yet of all the Gen 2 single ones, we have yet to see Dunsparce Love.
Is there a list of Gen 2 Pokemon that have not been touched at this point? Quillfish got some treatment.
Quillfish got love.
Obviously Girafarig. I like the design. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think its name is super clever too. For those that don't know, Girafarig's name is a palindrome, which means it's like the same forward that
as
it is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So for Farigiraf's is also a palindrome. It's the same forward as it is backwards.
The only one that I think is left that's a single form Gen 2 is Sudowoodo. But Sudowoodo got
Bonsly.
So that, like, I was talking about evolution past, but it's got an evolution pre.
Heracross got a Mega.
Yanma got Mega Yanma.
What?
Yanmega.
Yanmega.
I was like, what?
Whatever.
I was like, I don't remember a Mega Yanma.
Murkrow got Honchkrow.
Yeah.
Misdreavus got Mismagius. Wobbuffet got Why Not.
Is it literally just Dunsparce now?
Yeah, it is literally just Dunsparce at this point, and it's offensive. Well, Shuckle. Shuckle get anything?
Oh, Shuckle didn't get anything.
All right. There are two. Well, Shuckle's bad, so Shuckle doesn't count.
I like Shuckle.
Ugh. I'm looking
So
at the
Shuckle
other
and
ones.
Dunsparce.
Mantine got it. Skarmory? Did Skarmory get it?
Skarmory did not get anything. I mean,
Okay.
Skarmory got Corviknight. Just, they're not related,
Yeah.
but Corviknight is the better
Stantler
Skarmory.
got Weirdeer. Smeargle doesn't have anything.
I don't think Smeargle deserves anything.
What? Rude.
Smeargle has its own exclusive move. The only other the Pokemon that can learn Sketch, I think, is Mew. But that
Until
doesn't
the
count.
new one. The
Mew's
new one's
mythical.
going to get it. The new
I
one,
don't
the graffiti
think,
artist.
Sketch is too problematic.
Smeargle is a problematic child. I think Smeargle is good enough where it doesn't need something to make it.
It needs
relevant
an evolution where it can learn paint, 3D modeling, where it makes a substitute that looks like itself.
Crazy to me that they showed the 14-minute trailer and they were like, "Here's one Pokemon," but whatever.
But was it?
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
there were
we could.
secrets.
Yeah. That's true. This company's very bad at copying and pasting, because in the Japanese trailer they didn't have that stuff on the mini map. In the English trailer they did have that stuff on the mini map. We'll talk about that in a second. We need to complain now. So now this is the part of the podcast where you're like, all they do is complain.
All right, fast forward.
The
TM machine's bad.
Machine. It is the so the TM stands for technical machine, but it is called the TM machine. So it's the technical machine.
Just like people say the ATM machine. Now, come on.
Yeah.
This has been a problem since the 80s.
Just like people say chai tea, which is how chai is referred to in America. It is allowed. I watched a whole TikTok about what that means and why it's an appropriate use of language. So people are like, you should say it twice. Go to TikTok, find the linguist that talks about why that's a valid part of speech.
And also, you can't complain unless you can tell me what the AT in ATM stands for, which I can guarantee 90% of you have no idea.
Did I ever tell you about the time
Is it
machine
automatic?
problem I had?
No.
The T is time.
No.
No.
It's not time machine.
No. It is. Okay. Steve doesn't know what it is.
I'm too.
You were born. They weren't new. You were born when they were already here. Will and I had to be introduced to the automated or automatic teller machine.
I said automatic.
ATM. Yeah, you said automatic time machine, which is not a thing. Because in Wisconsin, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Bubbler is also a terrible Wisconsin thing, but I had friends who came from Wisconsin, and the first ATMs were from the Time Bank. So the only ATMs that existed in Wisconsin were labeled Time. So they came to Minnesota, and one day in college turned to me and said, "Where's a time machine?" To which I said, "Those things aren't real. That's science fiction." And they said, "No, it's not. You get cash from it." I said, "How do you get cash from a time machine? Its sole purpose is to travel through time." And they went, "No, not that time. Time, a bank." I said, "I don't even know what that is because we don't have time banks here." I said, "Are you talking about an ATM?" And they said, "What's that?" I said, "That's where you get cash from a machine because it's an automated teller machine." This is the worst Abbott and Costello moment of my life. It happened in real time, and we're surprised that I survived it.
I'm not going to survive the TM machine.
It's awful. I hate crafting.
Yeah, so I think the actual takeaway from the TM machine, I almost said time machine, is that you can walk up to any of these machines. They're in Pokemon centers, and you can make TMs pretty much stating that TMs are not unlimited.
No, they're one single use, but you can make as many as you want.
Yeah, which is the problem. So in older Pokemon games, this is how I was as a player, and maybe not everyone was the same as a player. Let me give you my gaming experience. First, I'm going to start with a non-Pokemon example. I played through all of The Last of Us. And in The Last of Us, it is a game where they make it some of the difficulty, I wouldn't say all of the difficulty, is like your resources and because you can craft. And I went through The Last of Us saving a lot of the best weapons because I was scared to use them in case there was a harder zone or battle, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to waste my shotgun on these characters because what if later on I'm going to need that shotgun? And then because there was ammo that was plentiful, like for your handgun, and then there was ammo that was more rare. I'm just going to use shotgun for an example. And obviously some guns were better than other guns. And so I was like, okay, great. I have like a flamethrower. I have all these really powerful weapons that I'm saving till the end of the game where ideally it will get harder. And then all of a sudden the game was over. I was like, oh, I thought there was going to be more. I didn't know that this was like the final encounters, and I'm done, and I never actually use like these 3 weapons. Now that is my fault. But I was scared to use those weapons because I didn't know what was coming. And I was like, well, if it gets harder, I can switch to those weapons. And I've actually had this conversation with other people, and there are people that match my playstyle pretty match my playstyle of like, I didn't use these weapons because I wasn't sure when I was going to need them, and then it turns out the game is over and I didn't end up using them. And I felt the same way in early Pokemon games where I only have one Earthquake, and I don't know who to teach that to. And what if I teach it to this Pokemon, but that's not the right thing, and now I don't have an Earthquake anymore? And that's like super unfortunate. And then again, and even when I go back and I play, and I Nuzlocke like a Pokemon Platinum, it's like this is my only horn drill. That's a bad example. This is my only horn drill, and I don't know if I want to teach it to this Pokemon because like, what if they die, and then all of a sudden like I don't have that Pokemon, and I also don't have horn drill, and then now the game is even more hard because I used my one good. Ice Beam is probably a better example, although I think you can buy Ice Beam, and there are some TMs that you could just buy in a store, but there are some TMs you can't. And then Black and White fixed that all. Black and White was like, you want Ice Beam? Cool. As many as you want. And it doesn't it doesn't all of a sudden make the game easier, which is the counter argument to that. Because somebody's going to be like, well, it made the game harder because you had to strategize who you were going to teach the Ice Beam to. And like, if you think Ice Beam's an overpowered move and you think it makes the game easier, then just don't teach your Pokemon Ice Beam. You have complete control of that situation. Like, if you got Thunderbolt from Lieutenant Surge back in Red and Blue, you could do one of two things. You could either wait for Pikachu to get to level 54 and teach it Thunderbolt, or you could teach it Thunderbolt and not wait, or you could save your Thunderbolt for something else, but you only still had one Thunderbolt. Like
Thunderbolt, I believe is
Thunderbolt. And since Black and White, they kept unlimited TMs every game afterward. Unlimited. And it was fantastic. And then Sword and Shield came around, and they were like, we still have unlimited TMs, but also we have these TRs. And TRs, I 3 years ago, I complained about TRs. I was like, why are certain moves not unlimited? Why do we have to... You didn't have to, like, grind for them, per se. You didn't have to craft them. You had to either do a certain raid to get it to drop, or you had to have enough watts, and you would talk to the guy. And the only reason I wasn't completely negative on TRs is because it replaced, like, the battle tree, where you had to, like, talk to somebody, pay, like, 200 battle points to get, like, Waterfall or whatever. And it was like, I guess this is better than the battle tree because at least you're holding on to the TR, and you could trade TRs versus, like... Greg would have to trade me as Pokemon. I would have to go to the battle tree, teach it the move, and then trade it back for Greg to get that. I was like, this is like slightly better, so I guess it gets a pass. And then a fantastic game. Everyone loves this. 10 out of 10. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl came out. And they were like, that was sarcasm, by the way. They were like, unlimited TMs? Who is she? Never heard of her.
Yeah, I don't know her.
You want TMs?
It was a faithful remake.
True. You're not wrong. It was faithful.
And it was actually one of the downfalls to that game. That game would be slightly better if TMs were just unlimited.
Slightly. Very slightly.
And now they're throwing it all out the window. Okay, and then another game came out, Arceus, where they were like, you could just talk to this person and teach them moves. And if you wanted to teach them more moves, you had to pay a one-time fee to unlock that move. But now you can teach them that move forever. Which, I don't know if that's better per se, but it's definitely different. Like, we have one system that's like unlimited, not unlimited. And one is significantly better than the other. At least Legends was this weird gray area where it was like, it was unlimited once you paid for it.
Did you say League of Legends? Did I mishear that?
No.
Pokemon Legends. Arceus.
Arceus Legends.
Arceus Legends.
Unlimited, not unlimited. One is significantly better. And then Legends it's unlimited once you pay for it. And I think that was like, okay, I guess. I mean, there's not really battles in this game, so it's not that big of a deal. This game is like, nothing is unlimited. Sorry. If you want Thunderbolt, I'm assuming you have to, like, knock out, like, a bunch of Pikachu for Pikachu to drop, like, the Pikachu liver. And then I'm like, I need 7 Pikachu livers here.
You gotta carve the Pikachus. I
need, like, 7 Pikachu livers to get, like, 2 Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound great. Like, why does every game have crafting? Why do I need to craft something that was just unlimited for how long has been Black and White been out? Like 12 years?
11 years.
Am I wrong? Am I just like I cannot imagine going to this is a very specific case, but I cannot imagine going to like a Salt Lake City Regionals and being like, oh, you know what? I actually want Volt Switch instead of Thunderbolt. Let me go to the TM machine and get Volt Switch here. oh, I need like 5 belly bolt hearts. I guess let me go find some belly bolts real quick and like knock them out.
League points.
So you didn't plan ahead. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you did a bunch of tournaments. You know the morning of you're changing out 2 cards in your deck.
That is the worst strategy in the world. I also have to say that if you are on a hunt with me and you choose to cap instead of kill, I will report you. I will ban you, and I will report you.
Don't you need
capture?
Don't you need a capture to have friends? Isn't that the point of the game?
No, you have the option to either capture or kill, and I always kill.
Oh, we're talking Monster Hunter.
I don't. Okay, so I find a couple of things about this press release problematic. One, a crafting system. I don't like crafting system in these games. It had better not come with an inventory issue problem, because if that bag is not unlimited and I can't carry 17 fart blossoms, then we're going to have an issue for me to make whatever move it makes. Two, the selection of TMs available to make grows as players continue their adventure. Which plot line? What part of the adventure do I grow to get more TMs? Which part? What has to grow?
I am assuming it is clearly gym leaders. Every gym leader
some NPC will tell you.
It has to be gym leaders, right? Which means, again, the only important plot line to progress into the game, which is probably also going to be the only important plot line to raise the level of wild Pokemon, is the gym challenge.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's annoying. It's dumb. And I hate that they tie things. I also hate the fact that it's a crafting mechanic. Crafting is pointless. Either it is an unnecessary amount of stress early on in the game, or later in the game, which has happened in Arceus, you are overflowing with stuff and you're like, I don't even want to bother. I will just go buy it from the guy that sells it. Because I had to throw away 17 things in my bag, and the first thing to go are the useless items that are literally everywhere. And I don't need them to make balls anymore because the guy sells them, and I have money that is spent on nothing else.
Yeah.
The crafting idea is bad. It is always bad, and I've yet to see it implemented in a Pokemon game where I thought, well, this was fun.
What if you only have to craft it once and then you just use LPs to purchase future iterations?
Maybe, but where do LPs come from?
LPs can be obtained as the players advance the story or by trading materials from Pokemon. Look, I have a love-hate relationship with crafting. I think that there are some instances...
I just have a hate.
I think there are some instances that crafting is great. Obviously, there are a lot of games out there where crafting is very popular, and those games are very popular. I don't think every game needs crafting, but I also I get the impression that this is like, well, we need to figure out some sort of loop for our players to do to keep playing the game, and we need a reason for players to attack or battle wild Pokemon, and they're going to battle them to drop items. And then you're going to use those items to cash in for TMs. But that loop kind of goes away when you think about, like, what are you building teams for? Like, if you're an average player and you're going through and you're beating the Elite Four and you're battling Team Star and you're doing raids, like, that's not... I don't think you're going to need like 8 Thunderbolts to do that, unless you really like electric Pokemon. Like it seems like to me an average player who maybe puts like 200 hours into a game probably only needs 1 or 2 of every TM. Maybe 3 or 4 if there's like a specific, if they love Ice Beam or something.
Oh yeah, I never use TMs. Like, it would be amazing for me to choose to put a TM on one of my Pokemon.
But if you're a competitive player or a player that just likes to battle or do ranked, and you're constantly trying new teams and you're constantly changing teams, you're asking that player to do a bunch of busy work just so they can do the part of the game that they enjoy. And I do think the tournament thing is a pretty good and real example. I was in again, this is probably very specific to me, but just quick story. I was in a YouTuber tournament or whatever. There was like 24 YouTubers. You're supposed to do 8 different battles a week. One battle a week, 8 weeks. Every week you're supposed to have a different team. And to be quite frank and to be quite honest, every single YouTuber just used some sort of bot or PK hex to make their teams, because they could make their teams in seconds to participate in a one-off tournament match, and then they were never going to use that team again. I understand why they did it. I didn't. I was people were shocked because they would see me building the team on stream every week, and they were like, "Oh, you're actually making the teams?" And I was like, "Yeah, I built 8 completely different teams, 6 times 8, whatever that is, where I was changing abilities, I was changing moves, I was changing IV and EV spreads, I was changing nature, and the only reason I was able to do that was because I had 2,000 hours in the game where I would pick up feathers. I would do so many raids that I would be just swimming in nuggets or pearls or whatever else I could sell. I would try not to use vitamins, and I would try just to EV train the old-fashioned way, because I was also like, 2 birds, 1 stone. We'll knock out Rookidees for speed EVs, but I'll also try to hunt for a shiny Rookidee. Like, literally at the end of that 8 weeks, I had nothing left. I had no more vitamins. I had no more feathers. I ran out of nuggets and pearls to cash in. And the only reason I was able to do 8 different teams in 8 different weeks was because I put so many hours prior to that into this game to make that happen. And so to introduce a crafting system for a set of items that should ultimately be a lower barrier of entry for people who want to, like, the people who are going to change their TMs are the people that are like, they just want to get into battles and do that. Like, they don't want to knock out Wiglets for 2 hours and hope they have enough materials to get like Earth. I don't know if Wiglet gets Earthquake, but like, it's almost like we need crafting. Where are we going to put it? Not here. Put it somewhere else. Why isn't crafting for Pokeballs?
But don't start us there. I also feel like the crafting came because they wanted to have some extra thing for when you sent your Pokemon on its Let's Go journey. That it was coming back with things that you wanted, and they're like, well, it has to come back with something other than experience. And what are we going to do with those things? Oh, let's have them make TMs. Like, you'll be over here sniffing this flower, and your Pokemon's battling its heart out, gathering materials for you. It feels like the idea for the mechanic came first, and then they just tried to wedge it in somehow, which is also why I don't particularly like it.
I mean, it was either going to be TMs or sandwiches.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Take your pick, I guess.
I don't know. The fact that they flaunted this as like a brand new feature, it was like, this is like 3 steps backwards. Like, this is not a new feature. We had this great thing that we're now applying busy work to. And, you know, maybe when it comes out, it's not that bad. But if somebody wants to, like, boot up the game and just play competitive Pokemon, and I do know a lot of competitive Pokemon players that they do play through the story because they want to see it out, and then they're done. They don't want to shiny hunt. They don't want to make sandwiches. They don't want to complete the Pokedex. They do want to experience the story, and then they want to battle their hearts out. And that's a very valid way to play. Look, if you don't care about battling, and you don't care about stories, but you just want to make sandwiches for the rest of your life, also a valid way to play. If you want to just complete the Pokedex, the shiny hunt, valid way to play. But if I want to just battle my heart out, why do I have to do like 3 hours of Wiglet battling in order to get everything I need to do? Maybe. I don't know. It just seems very backwards. We should take a break though, because there's another trailer. And Greg can be negative because apparently he doesn't like that Pokemon, but I think he's great. So we got
a lot. Get ready.
I think he's great. We will be right back. And we are back. So there was another announcement. Well, this is a little confusing. There was an announcement for an announcement, and that announcement made another announcement. And there was a lot happening there.
I mean, there were 3 videos that you could watch, is what that translates to.
Yes. This is off the press release. The Pokemon Company International and Nintendo have revealed a shocking new trainer and Pokemon duo, gym leader Iono and partner Bellybolt, found in the Paldera region of Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet video games. I'm going to say Iono because the I in Japanese makes the E sound, and she is a Japanese character. Like she speaks Japanese in the English. Like she's just that's just what she is, right? Like
I mean she's Paldean. Japanese.
There's no Japan in the Pokemon world, so she's from another region that speaks Japanese, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like Lieutenant Surge is American in Kanto.
Which I think they've backed off on.
Yeah. Well, you know what's weird? I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but when they showed Wiglet, they had like a whole website and like trailer for that they never showed anywhere outside of Japan. Right. It was a website
we talked about that.
It was a website you could go to, and it was a fake Zoom call, and the Zoom call was like a bunch of researchers looking at these new Pokemon. And they find Wiglet at the end of it, right? I think it's like 9 minutes long. And the 5 people in part of this fake Zoom call, one is an American speaking English, one is somebody speaking Spanish, and then somebody speaking Japanese, and then I think somebody speaking German. And it was only shown in Japan, even though it was a bunch of different languages, and even though it was subtitled in English. They were like, no, we're just that's not coming to America in any way.
Well, what you're saying right now is the same thing as those people who said who's going to tell the Japanese.
Right.
They knew we would find it.
Yeah, but just put it on Pokemon.com. I'm like, look at this fake Zoom call. And then this is like all in Japanese. And this was okay. Again, English. What? Like, I'm not complaining that was in Japanese. I thought everything about this was great. I like the concept of a content creator, streamer, personality coming on a YouTube video to say that she's announcing something else. I think that was like really clever and really great.
Because it's what you do. It's you. It's always how you like it. Because it's basically you.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. But like, I think what the actual problem that a lot of people had with it was Nintendo / the Pokemon Company. They were like, hey, there's an announcement at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 8 a.m. Central time. Set your clocks. And so they hyped up people for an announcement that was
the bigger announcement's coming in 2 days.
Right. Where like
and they were also late.
Yeah, they were.
It was not on the dot.
Where like I don't understand why that needed to be done. Like they could have just dropped this trailer at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon with no hype up. People would have saw it, and then the word of mouth would have then been like, okay, in 2 days there's something even bigger.
Right. Because I think they did it right when they did Hizui and Zoroark killing that dude. That was good because you just watched the guy get wrecked, and they're like, "Well, what killed that guy?" And then 2 days later, like, "Oh, that killed that guy." Cool.
Oh, for Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, this is the same thing as those streamers who like post on all the social media and push out to Twitch like, "I'm going live," and then you sit and they have a little purple screen that says starting soon for 15 minutes. Yeah,
no, it's
live.
Like the movies.
No, the movies have previews.
There's a preview.
That's the preview.
The movie, what? I'm not watching it. It's like watching. It was like watching the Menounos woman sit up there and just stare at you, not giving me trivia, just eating M&Ms and staring at you for 15 minutes. Like, I come from a theater background. You start the show, you maybe hold it 10 minutes if the weather is bad, but house lights down, the show starts. We got to get out of there in the allotted time. These people are old and need to get home.
You're putting way too much credit on the audience for arriving on time.
That's their problem. The show starts at 8 o'clock. The show starts at 8 o'clock. It's an 8 o'clock curtain. If the actors had to be there and in places, everybody else needs to be there.
I was just double checking that I was recording. It says Iono is the gym leader of the Levencia. I don't know. One of the Paldea region's prominent cities, specializes in electric-type Pokemon. She's also known as the supercharged streamer, having gained popularity online as the host of a show called the Iono Zone. And then she does like this like quiz of like, oh, this Pokemon is squishy and this Pokemon is tall and this Pokemon's electric, and then you're supposed to like guess it, but obviously it's a new Pokemon, so it'd be impossible to guess. It ends up being a Pokemon called Belly Bolt. Belly Bolt expands and contracts its elastic body to generate electricity in an organ that looks like a belly button. The huge amount of electricity generated this way when discharged from the two bumps on either side of its head resemble eyeballs. Its actual eyes are adorably round and small. Belly Bolt's ability, Electromorphosis, is appearing for the first time in Scarlet and Violet. When Belly Bolt will become charged when hit by an attack, boosting the power of the next electric-type move it uses. It is known as the Ellie Frog Pokemon, electric-type, ability Electromorphosis and Static. Iono and Belly Bolt appear for the first time in these games, and that was pretty much the press release. There were 3 trailers. There was the first trailer, which was the announcement for the announcement. The second trailer was her revealing Belly Bolt, and then the third trailer was just like some in-game footage of Belly Bolt moving around. I will say it was pretty jarring going from like the first 2 trailers where she's speaking Japanese and she's like very excited to the third trailer where like she sends Belly Bolt out in battle and it's like completely like silent except for the music and the text. So it was like very jarring.
No voice acting in this game.
Nah. I feel like you made a lot out of this gym leader for literally potentially no like I hope they are going to do more with these gym leaders than you show up and battle them and then you never see them again, other than them going into Masters. But I have a strong suspicion you're just going to go there, battle them, and they'll have their little task, and then you'll be like, cool, I'm out, and I will never hear from you again.
It could be like Kalos, where they had the 3D news announcer that everybody ignored constantly.
Yeah. Do we think that the Magnemite on her head are Paldean Magnemite? You just think we just think they're different colored?
They're just different color.
Well, she said they're not. They're not Magnemites. Right, they're just her barrettes.
They're just
but they could be based off the real things.
They are. They're just painted colors. It's like saying, I had a drawing of my cat. I had them to change the colors, so now it is a completely different cat. No, it's the same cat. You just painted it differently.
Okay. Magnemite hasn't had a new form yet.
It's got 3. It's all it needs. It's a bad Pokemon.
Like Diglett has had Alolan Diglett, and Alolan Sandslash, Alolan Vulpix. It's possible.
No, not needed.
And Greg, you dislike Belly Bolt?
I do not like Belly Bolt. I do not.
I thought okay, so you normally don't like Pokemon that are like Magnemite or Meltan, like the
Correct.
mechanical Pokemon. This is just a big frog. What's the problem here?
It's not a big frog. It is a big blob of nothing. It is, as a friend of mine put it, Grease Lightning Grimace, which made me laugh very hard. It's the only way that I've been able to tolerate this thing. I do not like that its eyes on the side are fake and then its eyes in the middle are normal. It's got the weird Nick Jr. face on it. It also is like, at this point, just call it Paldean Chansey, because that's what it looks like. I'm not a huge fan of Chansey.
It looks like Chansey. It kind of looks like a squishier Palpitoad. Like, it doesn't really look like Chansey at all.
It's the same shape as Chansey. It's got a big thing in its middle of the belly that looks like it's an egg. It looks like Chansey. Instead of having the frills on the side, it's got eyeballs. It is weird Paldean Chansey, and I'm not a huge fan of Chansey either. I don't know. It's one of the things where like people are like, oh, you'll like it better when you see it, and I watch the trailer and I'm like, I like it worse. It's just not. It is not a design that I care for. It just feels really amorphous and it's just too blah.
Well, to say the reason that it looks like Chansey is because they did let's draw an oval, let's draw a circle, let's draw another circle. Okay, done.
I mean, I think there's a lot of value in the simplicity of certain Pokemon designs, and there's a lot of value in the complexity of other Pokemon designs.
There is.
When I saw this Pokemon, I was like, oh, somebody at the Pokemon company like discovered what Squishmallows were, and they were like, we need a Pokemon.
That was my other joke, that the Squishmallow partnership has gone too far. That did good numbers in Slack.
Like there's no. I would be shocked if this Pokemon doesn't become a Squishmallow. We know that there are 2 Squishmallows coming. I would be shocked if this Pokemon doesn't have at least 2 different plushes that are not Squishmallow related. I would also be incredibly shocked if this Pokemon isn't one of those like stress balls that they put on Pokemon Center or the Japanese Pokemon Center where you like squeeze it and it's like eyes pop out or whatever. Like, you know when they make a Pokemon like Lucario or like Zoroark and they're like, this is the marketing machine, or like they make like a lot of reason. This has never been confirmed, but I feel like a lot of the reasons why starter Pokemon don't evolve in the anime is because it's easier to sell the base evolution plushes. So if a kid is constantly seeing like a Mudkip, like Mudkip plushes just continue to sell better than, no one's out there buying Marshtomp plushes or whatever. But like I feel like this Pokemon is like, oh, like we can make a lot of different Squishmallow like things because that's hot right now. That's not to say like that makes the Pokemon bad. I think it's cute. Like I like how squishy it is, but like I don't like love it. I just think it's like, oh yeah, that's a cute Pokemon. Like, move on. I am curious if this is. It doesn't give me. I compared it to Dreadnought. It doesn't give me Dreadnought vibes where there's like a pre-evolution, but it also doesn't give me like Komala vibes where like it doesn't evolve at all. Like I can't tell. Like it really screams middle evolution to me, but I don't know.
No, I think it's just, I don't know that it's going to evolve. I think it just is.
Yeah, I think so. And especially because it has that unique ability, the new ability, that I think they just kind of stuck it on this one as a solo.
Oh, you think because it's unique, it's just never going to evolve?
Yeah. I have a feeling like later games it will get its baby form and then its Blissey form, let's say. But I think this is just a one and doneer for this game.
I don't know. Like it's saying that it gets hit by any move. That it boosts, but only the next turn. So I would assume that like if you got hit by a move, your next turn you're boosted. But if you were to like protect, the turn after it goes back to normal. I think that's what they're saying.
I would say that that's true, yes.
It's not like you're boosted until the next time. And it says boosting the power of your next electric type move.
Yeah.
It seems like very easy to counter, right? Like you hit it, its electric type move is boosted, they're about to use it, you just switch into like a ground Pokemon.
Or protect.
Or yeah, you protect, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a particularly interesting mechanic. Like, since you know that it's going to be the next one. The question, of course, is if it's slow and you hit it, does it immediately boost? Like, is it the next turn, or does the boost immediately apply?
It does say next
to
turn.
I think it does
you
say
getting
next turn.
hit.
There's no way it's fast, right? It's like you like see it move around in the game. Like this probably has like a base speed of like 30 or something.
Yeah, because it says boosting the power of the next electric type move it uses.
It doesn't say next turn. You're
No,
right.
it says the next electric type move it uses. So if it's slow, it gets hit, and you've selected Thunderbolt. I'm assuming it boosts that Thunderbolt immediately. That turn. So it is at least somewhat dynamic in that way.
So it being slower is better.
Right. I think that's
so if it was like
thing.
if it was like a base speed of 60, that's probably even worse for it.
Yeah, I think it's slow and bulky, but doesn't have a lot of power, relying on the fact that its power is expected to be boosted once it get hit.
Well, yeah, so you set up Trick Room, and then you have it go out with Whimsicott, and have Whimsicott slap it on the back, and then it attacks.
I like Iono. I think she's great. I think like I think for the last several Pokemon games, they've really knocked gym leaders and characters out of the park. Sword and Shield, Legends, this game, Sun and Moon.
They are getting better at making very memorable characters. I still don't think they make them particularly memorable in game.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, their design is great. Their designs are they're getting more creative and more modern with their design. Like, they are more willing to make things feel like they're in a time period than I think they have been. And they're like, fine, let's give a character gigantic boots that make no sense. Cool. Let's give this character hair that doesn't make any sense. Let's give this guy a thorn whip. Like, let's do just some wild things, and I think it makes them memorable. My problem is like they don't become much of anything post game, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree. I mean, you look at it. I think the character that comes to mind the most is Grant from X and Y, which is the second gym leader. He has an Amora and a Tyrant as his Pokemon. 2 brand new Pokemon, 2 fossil Pokemon. Kind of a difficult fight if you don't have like a water Pokemon, or you're just unsure of like what these Pokemon do. But like his personality is that they're a rock climber, and that's cool. That's like new. That's like the first time. I have a bunch of carabiners and stuff. We love a carabiner. Their gym is great. It's a cool little like puzzle. Never see that character again. Just done. Just there's nothing before that, and there's nothing after that. You get to their town, you ride your bike up the little mountain, you go into their gym, you climb the little rock climbing puzzle, which is like a very cute puzzle. It's not, obviously not difficult, but I think that puzzle in itself is pretty memorable. And then you fight them, and then never again. Just see you later. It feels like they put so much work in. Like there must be like a character designer or something on the team, and they're like spending their heart and soul in these characters, and then they like give it over to like the game programmer, and they're like, well, we're out of time,
yeah,
so
we're out of time, so they get 5 minutes.
I think that's why people connect with Black and White though, because it felt like throughout that game, gym leaders were popping up again and kind of like stopping you, or people were talking about gym leaders, and then there's that big scene at the end of Black and White where they all show up and you're like, oh yeah, all of you exist.
Well, they were part of the world, yes.
So I think her design is great. I think Belly Bolt is pretty cool.
I've really liked the character designs this time around, but
wow, I hate everything about her, and almost to the point of like, do I really want to buy this game? I hate this character so much. It just makes me think of fan service, and it's just like gross to me.
I will say the one thing that annoyed me about the trailer is they gave her the Japanese voice acting style that I really don't like in animes either. It is almost every anime has a character voice like this, and I am so tired of it, and I'm so over it. So when I'm like, I just want to read the subtitles, and I did mute because I'm like, I cannot listen to this voice acting style on another character anymore. I'm really tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not this game has voice acting, I'm going to say no.
No.
But again, like I said, like a month ago, I watched somebody play Xenoblade for the first time, and that game has like some voice acting, but what it does is it gives like the characters like little quips, and like hearing them like, there's an item, there's an item, there's an item, there's an item, there's like over and over again. That is way worse than just,
hey, listen,
over here,
hey,
over here. Like that,
listen.
Like I would rather have no voice acting than like 4 lines of dialogue that are going to repeat for 2,000 hours. Like I don't know.
I will say I'm excited for their eventual inclusion into Pokemon Masters, which is where I now care about characters going. Because they actually do something in that game, unlike the regular main games, where it's like, yeah, this person exists, and they only exist in this one silo, and they never leave.
I think it's done well in Masters, but that's not because you're playing Masters for 6 hours straight. Like, you're getting the little quips in, like, 10-minute play sessions. Like, that's why I think it works there. And I do think the quips in Masters are good. Like, it did make me second guess and be like, oh, maybe I do actually want voice acting. But then when you see a big open world game like Xenoblade, you're like, oh, I don't want it like that. No.
Yeah, it's tough. Voice acting is tough. And, like, I think for as much as people hate cutscenes, I think voice acting works best in cutscenes. And because of game mechanics, it gets way too repetitive outside of cutscenes. And so in general, I prefer voice acting to be limited to cutscenes.
I mean, the big part of Sword and Shield is when you get to the musician gym leader and they're singing into a microphone and there's just nothing.
And even Roxy had a song.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so during that first trailer, I wanted to save that for last because I wanted to get through all the official stuff. There's a point where, if you look at the mini map, it shows Pokemon on the mini map, and one of those Pokemon is Rookidee. I don't actually know if Rookidee has been confirmed up to this point, but now we know that Rookidee is in the game. Cool. I think a lot of people do like Rookidee and the Corviknight line a lot. I do think they were pretty memorable birds from Sword and Shield. But there are also 3 new Pokemon on that map, which in the Japanese version of that trailer, that mini map did not have those Pokemon on it. In the English trailer, it did. We could spend another 30 minutes talking about whether that is intentional or not. I mean, you see this in the tech world where, like, Apple has purposely leaked the new iPhone because that garnishes a lot of attention and people get super excited. And whether or not that's true, who knows? So did somebody forget to cut those Pokemon? Was it intentional for one or the other to get, like, the Japanese people to go over and watch the American trailer, or to get American people to talk about it so then other people pick it up? I don't know.
Does it matter?
Yeah, like, does it matter? Who knows? So there's like a little white mouse Pokemon. There's 2 of them. And if you were to really look carefully, their tails are slightly different. One tail is like up in the air, the other tail is down. So safe to maybe assume that there's gender differences in this little white mouse. It kind of looks like a really
it's wagging its tail and it's stuck in a mini-map has motion.
Yeah, I do want to remind everyone that there was a 24-hour Ponyta debut in Sword and Shield, and one of the Ponytas that came running out was missing a tail. and everyone thought, oh, that must be the male Ponyta. No, they just forgot to animate the tail. Like,
there's not a lot we can derive from tail position in a still.
So
on a mini map.
So there's two little mice. They're white. They look like very simple Minchinos. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. It's just we're on an audio podcast. I'm trying to paint a picture. And then they showed a green parrot, which looks like it has like a little afro or a mohawk or a hat. I'm not sure. And then the last Pokemon in there was like a mushroom / salt thing / truffle. Some people are maybe saying it's a truffle because of Lechonk and pigs eat truffles.
Yeah, I mean,
it kind of looks like a house, as like a mushroom house.
Well, it's got like, it feels like it has a cinder block coming out of its head. Let me look at it again.
So yeah, like there are 3. Breaking news, there are new Pokemon in the Pokemon game. There are 3 Pokemon that we kind of know what they look like and kind of know what they might be, but we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, so the mushroom looks like a cinder block, kind of. The bottom eyes kind of look like a cinder block, and it looks like it got a cinder block sticking out of its head. And the tail difference that people are going on about is not that exaggerated. It's like...
one tail's up and one tail's down.
Well, no, it's like seats in an airline. Upright, leaning back. I mean, it's literally this much of a difference. It's upright and then slightly back. And the parrot has like a pompadour. It kind of looks like Quaxley's pompadour, to be quite honest. It's not a straight line. It's a dollop on the front of its head like a pompadour.
Yeah, it's so hard to even be like, I like these Pokemon because they're so tiny.
They're tiny, and who knows?
If anything, the more exciting part is like the Pokemon are showing up on the mini map. I think that's actually like
that is the cool part.
So like 1, the game has a mini map, which Sword and Shield did not. 2, if you're exploring the area for the first time and you see something on the mini map, you can know where to like turn to like go to. We're what? 5 we're 5 weeks 4 weeks from
4 weeks, I think,
the game. So I would expect that we would have 1 new Pokemon or maybe another gym leader or maybe a feature once a week. This is where you really want to advertise that.
Still a 0 out of 10 game.
No Roselia.
Big mistake.
But mistake. Like a lot of good Pokemon news. I don't know if the sandwiches itself is convincing anyone to pre-order this game. Maybe the gym leader stuff was exciting or fancy enough for people to be like, yeah, this is something I want.
I mean, I think we're at the point where they are done sort of, this is all hype, and now they're just trying to say, okay, so people, hey, here's the things that are going to be happening in this game. Like, hi, you remember how curry worked? Well, it's now sandwiches. You remembered how this worked? So we're at the point where they are selling fans on what to expect to make fans more invested. I think we aren't in the hey, we're going to get new people buying. Like, the hype train is now moved into the let's get everybody on board and start answering questions so people can be prepared for the game they're about to play.
I wonder if there's like another thing to the terrestrializing thing that we haven't seen yet. Like how I don't actually remember if they did this. Maybe my memory is just wrong. But they could show Dynamax and be like, look at Pokemon get really big and they do attacks. But they could have held off, and I don't know if they did, Gigantamax. Where they're like, oh.
I thought they showed Alcremie.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that at the same time. But I just wonder if like they showed us some terrestrializing things. Is there something where Farafrig terrestrializes and something changes? Specifically, like, hey, Farigiraf, sorry. These 20 Pokemon are kind of like Gigantamax in Sword and Shield. I don't know if that like convinces anyone. I think people are pretty much like, yeah, terrestrializing seems cool, or yeah, terrestrializing seems bad. I mean, it was the same with Dynamax. Like, people made their opinions up pretty quickly before.
I just don't like the hats.
And some people's opinions changed once they tried it. But I don't know.
I will say my favorite part of this trailer was when they said any Pokemon can have any Terra type, and they said Will Anderson was right. Listen to Will.
They did say that, though.
They did say that. That's 100% true. But
no,
they also
didn't
said
say Will Anderson was right, because that is a sentence that nobody should ever utter.
They also said the only way to get Pikachu with the flying terrestrial type is to download him the first.
That is not what they said. They said the only way to get this Pikachu, because it also knows a special move. So it's a flying type Pikachu with that move.
Okay. Let's see how they do that. That's what, 18 types, assuming there's 400 Pokemon. You know, but don't worry. You can grind that as you grind for your TMs.
But they're taking rock type out of the game. So
perfect.
Yay!
Good.
Yeah,
Finally,
they realized they don't need rock and ground. So
Brock, the rock that's not.
How does Brock have a rocket ship?
We cannot spend any time talking about that movie or Netflix special, whatever you want to call it.
Netflix special.
Okay, real quick, we'll just do the Pokemon Go thing. I do think this is worth talking about. They introduced another new raid called Elite Raids. The Elite Raids are supposed to replace EX Raids. I guess I should probably explain what that is. Back in the day, before the world shut down and before COVID was a thing, there was something called EX Raids, and they would appear at specific gyms. They started off appearing at sponsored gyms. I don't know if people remember this, but Pokemon Go had a sponsorship with Sprint, which no longer exists because they're now owned by T-Mobile. But all
Other way around.
No, T-Mobile owns Sprint.
No, Sprint bought T-Mobile.
But it's still called T-Mobile. Irene had,
yeah,
because Irene's
T-Mobile
phone
T-Mobile was more brand
Sprint.
recognizable, but Sprint had the money to buy T-Mobile.
Got it. Okay. So all the Sprint stores were EX gyms, part of the sponsorships, and then there were other gyms that just were EX available. And you could tell this when you clicked on a gym up in, like above it, the name of the gym, where it would say like somebody's gravestone, it would say like EX gym above it. And the concept was that EX gyms were really powerful gyms or raids that you had to be invited to. And not right off the bat, but pretty quickly after they were released, if you were invited to an EX gym, you could invite somebody else to an EX gym. So I could be like, hey, Greg, I got an invite to this EX gym. Let me invite you. We'll both go there at 2 o'clock. And they were set times. And when they first did EX gyms, they started off with Mewtwo. And then they moved on to, I know Regigigas was in them. I want to say like Deoxys was first introduced in them. I can't remember no, I don't think Darkrai was. There was a couple like EX Pokemon. They weren't restricted to mythicals, but I'm almost positive Deoxys was specifically in them first. So they would give you certain times. You would do a raid at an EX gym that would qualify for you for an EX pass. A week later, it would be like, congrats, you got an EX pass at 2 o'clock on Saturday at this gym. Please be there. And then you show up and other people are there. And then you do it. And then you go, I did it. And then you go home and it was just like another raid. I personally liked it. And the reason I liked it is because I despised using Discord or Facebook to try to find groups or try to coordinate times. And it was just great to get like a ticket saying, hey, at 2 o'clock, be here, do it. You would show up. Other people would also be there. You know, somebody would be like the leader. They'd be like, let's wait 10 minutes, and, in case anyone's late. Well, I wanna. And then if you were the one that was like 10 minutes late, like they already started, and then there was 0 people to do it with because everyone else completed it. There were problems with it, but that's the problem with all raids, right? Like that's not exclusive to EX. If there's a group of people, they already started it, and no one wants to back out to let you in. Hopefully another group.
And there's always that one person's like, let's divide up by colors, make sure we're maximizing. And I'm like, I'm just going into whichever one on that list.
So. And the complaints to the EX raid system was like, I got an EX raid at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, and I have a 9 to 5 job.
Or I got a EX raid on Christmas for an indoor shop that's closed, and so is the building because it's Christmas.
I was invited to a lot of EX raids when EX raids were a thing, because there were a lot of EX raids in Milwaukee, and I just happened to raid at those things. And everyone I went to, whether it was 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whether it was Saturday, Wednesday, Tuesday, there was always enough people. As much as people were like, hey, I got work at 2 o'clock, there was always like 3 dudes in business suits rolling up to get their Mewtwo. Like, some people made time. Some people have the flexibility to make time. Some people don't. Like, would it have been better if, you got an EX raid pass and it was like, hey, do you want the 11 o'clock or the 6 o'clock? Sure, but the fact that this game even works is is surprising in itself. So the new thing, Elite Raids, which started yesterday, they're supposed to pop at a certain time. They say here 11, 2, or 5, and then in exactly 24 hours, that raid would start. And you don't need a special ticket to do it. So the marketing thing, I did, Niantic did show this off to me and some other YouTubers a couple days early to, get our thoughts and explain how it worked and, to, answer any questions the community had. Their thought process behind it was like, well, we want it to spawn during Community Day, so when people are out doing Community Day, they could understand or figure out what it was and then make plans with the community the next day to come back and do it. Which I think is fair, because I think there is a lot of Pokemon Go players that as soon as they open the game, they get that notification of like news and they close it right away and they don't read it. There's a lot of Pokemon Go players that don't live on Twitter, don't read Twitter. There's a lot of Pokemon Go players that don't go to the Sylph Road or whatever. There are people who play this game that just don't live online and consume as much Pokemon Go news as possible. That doesn't mean they should be left out. So I think, I don't know this, Niantic's never said this, but I would wager to bet that Community Day is the day where most people open the app and play the game. I just think, like, out of any day of the month, this is when the most people play and interact with your game, is this Community Day. So to advertise a new feature and say, like, hey, in 24 hours this is going to start, I think it's really great. So the idea behind Elite Raids is it's supposed to be a very hard raid battle. They appear, they do 24 hours. Once it hatches, the raid boss will appear for 30 minutes. They said the raid boss this time was Hoopa Unbound, which is, a lot of people are missing Hoopa unless they paid that like unless they finished that research and then paid the like $7.99 or whatever. I don't know. And then they said, no remote raid passes. We want people to be like, hey, in 24 hours, this is popping. We'll all come back, do it together. We know exactly what time. There's no confusion. We don't need Discord for that. And then when you defeat and catch it, something is supposed to happen for 15 minutes. And they told us a rare Pokemon would spawn, not for everyone, but it would be like a random... Gosh, how did they explain it? So when you defeat Lampet and then more Litwicks spawn? It was like that. You defeat the Hoopa, and then for 15 minutes, something spawns around it. And they said rare spawns, and they said like a legendary. I think people were reporting that Articuno spawned. So you could then be like, oh, there's a wild Articuno. That's exciting and cool. Maybe I can catch it. But they said it didn't appear for everyone, that the Pokemon that spawned were completely random, and some people could get more lucky than others, but it was supposed to be a bunch of like really cool Pokemon, Articuno being like the coolest. And that was supposed to be, I think they didn't say this to me, but I think I think it wasn't really about like rare Pokemon spawning. I think it was about Pokemon interesting enough to spawn so you would stay after the raid to like mingle. Because there's like two sides to this. There's like the side where people are like, no one does in-person raids anymore. My whole community is remote raids, right? And they're like, Niantic should do something so people do in-person raids. Or like, my community is dead now because of remote raids. What is Niantic going to do to fix this? And so Niantic's solutions I think are pretty good, in my opinion, of like, hey, after community day, if your community does a Lampent Litwick spawn, and that encourages people to help out or stay after and like talk. And I think this is like, okay, well, you need to be in person. We're giving it 24 hours, so you don't need a Discord or anything. You can look at it and like meet there. And then we're giving you some cool bonuses afterwards, so you don't go there, do a raid, and immediately walk away when it's done, which was 1,000,000% my experience in EX raids. I showed up, I didn't talk to anyone, I did it. As soon as it was over, I was back in my car. I didn't talk to anyone the entire time. So I do want to give Niantic some credit that, like, they are trying the best they can to, like, help you do a community, but it's, like, still on your community to do that, right? Like, you can't just blame Niantic for not trying when they are trying to, like, here are some cool spawns, like, please stay a little bit longer, and hopefully if you stay, you like chit chat. Like, we're like, what else do you want us to do? You want us to give you like $5 to stay? Like,
yes, yes. Pay me for my time, please.
So when they told me that, like, oh, it's Hoopa, you know, we're gonna have more, I really thought it was cool. Turns out that it broke yesterday.
Oh.
And none of them actually spawned until, like, I think 6. Because Will and I got dinner.
Yeah, but at 6 o'clock we didn't see any.
Yeah, so Mall America didn't have any. Even though Mall America
Yeah.
has like 3 EX raids, they didn't have any. But I did check Campfire, and there are EX raids happening in the area. Just Mall of America. That was weird to me that Mall America didn't have any.
Why is that weird? Like, they haven't figured out how to do raids on Community Day yet.
Yeah, that's true. I'm getting blinded over here by the sun. The complaint, I guess, is the problem with EX raids, and I guess the similar problem with Elite raids, where it would introduce something called gym lockout. And what that is when an Elite raid spawns, that means that gym can't have any other raids for 24 hours. You can't have any Xerneas or Yveltal or Morlul. Morlul can be in raids now if you wanted to do a 1-star Morlul. And I personally, I don't know if I find that a bad thing, because my thought process is, you know, if Xerneas is around for 2 weeks, you have plenty of opportunities, even if you only have one gym in your town to do Xerneas, right? Granted, you have other people to do that Xerneas with, or if you're relying on remote raid passes, you can invite other people to do it. And you can't control the spawns anyways in the gym. So even you might be like, well, I want to do Xerneas. Well, you're not guaranteed Xerneas. It could just be Morlul over and over. And if you're saying, like, okay, this gym's going to be locked for 24 hours, you are getting a really cool Pokemon at the end of it. Like, I think Hoopa Unbound is way cooler than, like, 6 non-shiny Xerneas.
I mean, if you win the raid,
Yeah.
you're not
if you have
guaranteed
enough
to win the
people
raid.
to win the raid. And then, you know, you're supposed to get, you know, rare/special spawns afterwards. Like, I do think, like, you can't have everything. Like, and if you have if you have one gym in your town, well, that's its own problem in itself, right? Because Pokemon Go is unfair, and if you live in cities, it's a better experience. But I try to put myself in my shoes of, like, okay, if I live in a town with only one gym and it's really hard for me to travel, and would you not rather want the Hoopa guaranteed after 24 hours, or would you just not, like, would you not complain if you didn't get the Hoopa at all? Like, I feel like you would complain if, like, I have one gym and I didn't get the Hoopa, right? Like, you would want the Hoopa still, even though the gym is locked out for 24 hours. Like, having Hoopa is better than no Hoopa.
I don't want the Hoopa. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, you would want the Hoopa still.
Maybe.
Are people really complaining about the gym lockout?
Yeah. That's the number one complaint. I mean, the complaint for the gym lockout for EX raids was, like, a little bit more sound, because the gym would be locked out because of an EX raid, but then you wouldn't have a ticket to the EX raid.
Right.
That's the big difference, right? Because anybody can do the EX raid.
Or anyone could do the Elite raid. Not anyone could do the EX.
Elite raid, yes. Yes, and you had to be invited to the other kind. So that does make a big difference.
Yeah, I think this is a better solution to what was. I don't know if EX Raids are coming back, but this seems like the replacement. I don't think they said that. I don't think they said that this is the replacement.
This is the replacement, but it is.
So they said more of these will appear. It broke, so they didn't specifically spawn. I have seen people talk about how they showed up and no one else showed up, and they tried to do it with 5 and it wasn't enough, and it was really frustrating. I saw people say they did do it and the special spawns did not happen. I can tell you from talking to Niantic directly, they were well aware that things were broken, and they told us to please be patient. They were working on it. They not a great first impression of a system purely because of everything I just listed. Like, it sounds like something technical broke, and Campfire's not out yet, which would have been really nice if Campfire was out for everyone to scan their area for where these are. I think when they showed it to me and they were like, what'd you think? And when I read everything, I was like, this actually sounds really awesome. I was excited for it yesterday. Then I was like, oh, this is all broken. And I don't think I'm doing one. Like, I guess maybe when they try it for the second time, we'll see if it's they fix the problems. Which is a bummer. We at least, I don't think Niantic's a perfect company. We criticize Niantic a lot here. But it does suck that this sounded exciting and it just didn't work the way it should have. So that sucks. Like, I don't want to see Niantic fail. I want them to like make exciting things for the game where every player is like, yeah, this is great, this is exciting. Like I remember when they revamped Megas and they were like, we changed the whole Mega system. No one complained. Everyone was like, this is great. This is how it should have been. I use Megas every day now. Like, that's a huge W. And great for Niantic to figure that out. And I was hoping that this would be another huge W minus, like, again, this doesn't suddenly solve the problem that people who live in the middle of nowhere have always had with Pokemon Go. But technical issues, it's an L. It's an L instead of a W, unfortunately.
Pokemon Go players in small towns need to learn from the gays. If you want to live your best life, move to the city.
Move.
If there's any advice this show has ever given, it's that one right there.
Yep. Move to the city, gays.
Final bit of news is the Volcanion Genesect Marshadow
Are we not
distribution.
doing the Halloween 2020 Part 1 Mega Bandet's coming?
We had not enough time this episode.
All right, hey, Mega Bandet's coming. It's starting October 20th.
Thank you, Greg, for the wisdom there. The Marshadow Genesect Volcanion thing is coming to the United States and Canada and Australia. If you live in South America or Mexico, sorry, like, the Pokemon Company clearly forgets those places exist. If you're in Canada, you're just going to go to GameStop. I made graphics of the dates and stuff like that. If you're in Australia, you're going to go to like Hi-Fi region or whatever the kangaroo stores you have down there. And if you live in the United States, GameStop will give you 2 of them. Target will give you Marshadow. I don't know, brand deals. I'm not 100%. Like, all of this is just money exchanging hands for marketing purposes and stuff. Mythical stands for marketing. If you're new to the show and you're unaware of why they do mythical Pokemon are purely marketing Pokemon. That's why they exist. They exist to sell more copies of games or plushes or t-shirts or whatever. Greg, question of the week.
Ask what you like what you ask. Now's the time for the question of the week.
This is from Parker from our YouTube. If you would like to leave a question of the week, youtube.com/PKMNcast. Find the latest episode, leave your question, we'll pick one. Pretty easy one. Are you guys doing a mini-series for Scarlet and Violet? I don't know if that's possible considering the 3 stories thing, but I was wondering what your ideals are.
we are hoping there's 3 actual stories.
Well, Will usually doesn't do the miniseries because they
Correct.
play at their own pace.
Also, I hate this game, so there you go.
Greg and I usually do the miniseries, and I think we had a great time doing Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. And
I don't know, we had a great time doing Brilliant Diamond Shining
I think we
Pearl.
had a great time talking about Brilliant
We
Diamond
did.
Shining Pearl.
I mean, I think I would like to do it. I mean, again, I have that week off, but I think we need to have like a serious discussion about what we're doing, because if it's technically open world, we have to talk about, like, are we going to take side trips to do like one in each storyline and then a gym? Are like, I don't know what that looks like since they are technically separate storylines.
Yeah, I mean, we could structure it like we have always structured it, is we're going to do 10 episodes. 8 of those episodes are 1 through 8 gyms. One of those episodes is just before Gym 1, and then the last episode is the Elite Four. That is a structure that we could do, but like,
What do we include?
yeah, like how much Team Star is there? How much sandwich making is there? How much Titan stuff is there? We know there's one Titan. We know there's the cloth thing that existed. Like, is that part of the storyline? Do you have to? Is cloth blocking an area that you can't get to that you need to do?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think we did a pretty okay job with the Legends stuff. But Legends is an incredibly tiny game compared to other Pokemon games. Like, I say it all the time. I will continue to say it. There are like 7 battles in that entire game, and like 3 of them are against like Togepi and Pikachu. Like, there are not a lot of battles. There's just a lot of catching. There were 5 nobles, and I think we did like 3 2-hour episodes covering our thoughts, and I think that was pretty good. But again, that game wasn't open world. That game was, here are 5 areas. When you complete this area, this next one unlocks. When you complete this area, this next one unlocks. Like, there was a structure to that game. And yeah, you could get lost in an area, but it wasn't like I'm doing this huge side quest for Mr. Mime in Area 1. It was just, Mr. Mime was here. Do you want to catch him? Cool.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I think we have to consider is if you can truly do any gym in any order, we need to discuss what our order of gyms are going to be.
Yeah, if I'm assuming the grass gym is first. If we skip the grass
what's
gym,
first? If they say it's open world, what does first mean? Like, there's a lot about what they are planning to do that we do not have structural anything for. Like, if it's truly the levels of the gym and the levels in the world change as you do each gym and you can go to any of them, then we need to sit down and discuss what gym are we, or which means we kind of have to know what's in the game before we do this.
Yeah,
process.
like, okay, so we know there are 3 gym leaders. If I do Grusha first, can I do Grusha first?
Right.
Is Grusha level 17 or 18 because I have no gym badges, or is Grusha level 40 because I have 3 gym badges? If I do Grusha first and Greg does Iono first, like, that seems weird because I'll be like, oh, well, this is the Pokemon that Grusha had, and you'd be like, this is the Pokemon Iona had, and like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, open world games are hard to do, so like we will. I want to do a series for it, but we seriously need to sit down and know how the game works before we can decide how we're doing a series. And maybe we put it out after we played the game all weekend and have a discussion once we know how the game works, right? Like, we get it on Friday, we play the game and see what's really up, and then we talk about what our recording schedule is going to be.
I think
I don't know.
I think the thing guaranteed is we get the game on Friday, we put out an episode on Saturday of just first impressions. I think
That's going
enough.
to happen, and then we'll discuss what's going to happen after that.
Will, Pokemon of the week.
So the last Pokemon of the week, I said it shares a type with Weezing, it shares a type with Berserker, and it was the first Pokemon introduced with that type combination that neither had a Mega Evolution nor was a Mythical, and it has recently become much easier to find thanks to tiles and air tags. So easy.
I don't know what this one is. I don't remember writing it down.
Tiles and air tags. We had this whole discussion, Greg.
Dude. It's
Palpitoad.
Ow. No.
it's Paldea and Magnemite.
No. What do you use tiles and air tags for?
Finding things.
Finding what?
Finding unknown. Luggage. Finding my phone.
No.
Finding
Your
Rotom.
keys. You put them on your keys.
Oh, that's right. I did write down
That's pretty
Klefki.
clever.
Wait, are we still on Klefki?
It is.
How are we still
'cause I
on
haven't been
Klefki?
around.
I had that down, and I'm like...
And then I said, don't be an owl. And you're supposed to remember that was the episode with Al.
That was 3 episodes ago. I thought there was one in between. I'm like, well, we did
No,
Klefki.
I haven't been here.
Look, I don't have memory. Klefki's cute.
Klefki has no trivia besides it was designed by a person who designed Victini and Stunfisk.
Quality
Really?
design right there.
A winning designer.
I mean,
does
2 out of
Klefki
3.
have a shiny? Yes, it does. It's cute. Does Klefki have a shuffle? Yes, it does. It's also cute. Here's a question. Did Klefki's only come into existence once doors with locks were created? Or were Klefki's a different... Did they carry a different thing around?
Klefki is the biggest miss that the Pokemon Company has made.
What?
And the
In
reason
what way?
why is because they could have taken the 4 keys and just randomized the order. Or had like 5 keys total and it was a randomized. Why do we have 2.73 billion Spindas?
Do you
And
know how
Klefki-
much trauma having
Klefki can't get-
Spinda
can't
trying
get-
to move into home has caused, and you want multiple keys on a Klefki?
We have like 72 Alcremies. We got like
No.
8 Furfrus. We got like 20 Vivians. You
They
have
could
a
either have-
potential to customize a keyring, and they're like, not just the same 4 keys in the same 4 order.
You either had multicolor Flabebe or keys on a Klefki, and they went with the Flabebe flowers.
Yeah, I mean, the Flabebe, I like the multicolor Flabebe. Don't get me wrong there, but like, I can't look at Klefki without getting mad about like not having different keys on it.
All right. This week's
It makes me so angry I can't sleep at night.
because you'd be shiny hunting every single one of those keys. This week's Pokemon, taken from the October issue of Pokemon Journal. As we settle into October, yarn crafting season is fully upon us. The world of yarn is full of confusion and mystery. Did you know? Angora wool comes from rabbits. Mohair wool comes from Angora goats. Cashmere comes from goats, not sheep. Yarn produced in Kalos, which is only taken when the creature is fully grown, is considered a plant-based fiber, more similar to bamboo and cotton than wool.
Kirby.
Kirby, yes, Kirby.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for making it to the end. I will be streaming on Twitch this week. I'm back from not traveling. There's been one point I'm getting my COVID booster. Also get your COVID boosters. So
Look, I've been boosted 5 times now.
boosted. So there might be a day where I'm like suddenly not streaming. It's probably because I got my booster and I'll be very tired. I think there are some exciting things coming this week. I can't specifically say because of embargo purposes, but keep your eyes out for maybe a Friday or so. Who knows? I don't know. Things change, embargoes change, times change. The amount of things that Niantic has told me and then last minute was like, nope, never mind.
Never mind.
They're pretty good at doing that. It's not Niantic related, though, I promise. And I think I think this episode was a lot. I hope you enjoyed 2 hours of Scarlet Violet stuff. I think next episode's just as exciting because we have something in the works. And then I think we have a guest person for the following episode, which is also exciting because we haven't had a guest on the show in quite a while. So really gearing up as we get closer and closer to Scarlet and Violet. But if you want to find us on stuff, youtube.com/PKMNcast. If you're watching right now, like, subscribe, leave a comment for your question of the week. Or let us know which, if you like Firagarif.
Forage, like the thing that you put your food in. Farigiraf.
Or Belly Bolt. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, PKMNcast. If there was any ads during the show, I'm going to guess that the promo code was also PKMNcast. But anyways, Greg is at White Wing on Twitter. Will is at Wash in the Sink. I am at Dragging a Lake. Very, very excited for Scarlet and Violet, minus the TM machine. Everything else, exciting. TM machine, no.
What if the TM machine gave hot dogs?
Back in. What if the TM machine turned your sandwiches into hot dogs? So then now you were making hot dogs instead of sandwiches. Definitely back in.
Are hot dogs tacos?
According to the state of New York, a hot
we
dog
don't care about New York.
Is classified as a sandwich.
All you're making me think is I think Steve stole my fries last night.
What?
Yeah.
No, rude. I ordered a large fry.
I think mine was supposed to come with fries.
That's possible. But I did order a large fry. Anyways, we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or I think Spotify, you can leave a 5-star review. Do that. I believe the Spotify review system is actually working now. Debatable. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment below. You can't do that. We'll see you guys next week. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
I don't know if I like this Pokemon game yet, friendos.
Correct. Agreed.